WWE just aired its most controversial pay-per-view to date, and whilst they were embroiled in a sea of controversy, the pay-per-view was sold out with hundreds of thousands of wrestling fans watching all across the world as WWE crowned a new Universal Champion. But in one of two of WWE's most bizarre booking decisions, the Beast Incarnate regained the Universal Championship and squashed Braun Strowman, pinning him for the win in just 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Raw's acting general manager Baron Corbin hit Braun Strowman in the back of the head with the championship before the match could even begin, giving Lesnar a massive advantage from the start. Lesnar immediately capitalized and hit Strowman with an F5, but couldn't quite get the win. Braun hit another and another and another and another, but finally after the 5th F5, Braun stayed down for the count. Sadly, this means Brock Lesnar is the WWE's Universal Champion once again. But why did WWE make the decision to put the strap back on him? Number 1. Keeping the title warm for Roman Reigns. As we mentioned before, the only reason we're seeing a new Universal Champion at the pay-per-view is because of Roman Reigns' shocking announcement that he was diagnosed with cancer 11 years ago, and the cancer has now come back after being in remission. This meant that Reigns was forced to drop the Universal Championship on last week's edition of Raw, and was forced to pull out of the triple threat match between him, Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, where they would now fight for a vacant belt, and we were guaranteed to crown a new Universal Champion. Had Roman Reigns been healthy enough to compete at the event, and WWE fans branding overseas pay-per-views as glorified house shows, it was almost certain that we would have never gotten a new champion. Fans only have to look at both Saudi Arabia's Greatest Royal Rumble and Australia's Super Showdown event to conclude that no major titles have ever changed at an overseas pay-per-view. Reigns wouldn't be considered a transitional champion either, as rumours circulated as soon as WWE teased a Shield breakup that Reigns would headline WrestleMania 35 as Universal Champion and put the belt on the line against both Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. However, with the strap back on Lesnar's shoulders, there will only be a handful of matches until Roman Reigns' eventual return. Lesnar could be just keeping the belt warm for Reigns' return, where WWE could pick up right where they left off. Number 2. Brock Lesnar's UFC schedule has allowed him to become champion. Even though Brock's official return to UFC hasn't been announced, in July of this year, the USADA confirmed that Lesnar had begun the process to get back in their drug testing pool, but due to the suspension he faced in 2016, he'll be unable to fight until January 2019 at the earliest, and that's if he passes any recent testing. With no fight being announced yet, Brock will have enough time to train and be the reigning Universal Champion at the same time. Dave Scherer of PW Insider spoke on the matter, mentioning his suspension doesn't end until sometime in January for testing positive from his last fight. So if he's committed like through the Royal Rumble and then he's going to fight, then you could keep the title on him. But if he's not, it's like, why would you have the title held hostage again? I just don't understand that line of thinking if that's what they chose to do. Well, Vince doesn't ask me what I think, he doesn't care. Number 3. They still don't have enough faith in Braun Strowman to be Universal Champion. If WWE wanted to put the championship on Braun Strowman, they would have done it months ago, as it's arguable Strowman reached the peak of his popularity months ago. He's still massively over, but not enough in Vince's eyes to put the belt on him and carry the Raw brand. And number 4. WWE have paid Brock a lot more money than UFC. After the match, it was immediately announced that we will have a Survivor Series rematch between the newly crowned Universal Champion Brock Lesnar and retaining champion AJ Styles. With Brock working on a continuously extended contract and is now confirmed to wrestle at the Survivor Series, it clearly means that WWE have paid Lesnar a substantial amount of money to wrestle in the WWE for another pay-per-view. Dave Meltzer tweeted the only reason Brock will walk away from the Crown Jewel event as champion is if WWE has paid him more than UFC. Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer newsletter also mentioned, Brock was supposed to lose at WrestleMania, and at the last second, Vince decided he was going to pay Lesnar a ton of money to come back for 2 more matches, including Saudi Arabia. So it's not impossible that Brock could win and then pay out the ass to get him back for Survivor Series, but why? Just put the title on Braun Strowman and be done with it. It would cost Brock Lesnar lots of money to come back for Survivor Series, and he sure isn't generating that money to come back for Survivor Series, I can tell you that much. There's no Saudi money for Survivor Series. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case, as WWE have no doubt thrown a huge amount of money at Brock to carry on in the WWE, now again as Universal Champion. What are your thoughts on Brock Lesnar regaining the Universal Championship? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.